Help support AMTV by becoming a patron, an AMTV staff member, and following us over on Twitter.
Hi there guys, it's Martyn here, and welcome back to another video, a rather special video this time, something a bit different from the regular programming because today I have an unboxing and review for you. And the film we're going to be reviewing today is The Third Man, a 1949 film that famously stars Joseph Cotten and Orson Welles amongst many others. Now you might be thinking, why am I talking about The Third Man? Well, here in the UK, it's being released on 4K for the very first time this November, and the kind folks over at StudioCanal, the people who are handling the release, sent me this. This is the 4K limited edition box set of The Third Man that you'll be seeing in stores come November. Now, right off the bat, just looking at the package, this is a really cool release. I love these sort of big box set releases for any sort of physical media that involves film or TV. And you might remember last year, StudioCanal helped handle the 50th anniversary release of The Wicker Man, a classic horror film that I loved watching in 4K, which was contained in a beautiful package, boatloads of special features, things within the box, all that sort of stuff. Massive thank you to them, first and foremost, for getting back in touch and sending me a copy of this to review. It's going to be great. Full disclaimer, I have not seen The Third Man until preparing for this review. I had heard of it, and I think I even owned it on DVD at one point when I was really into getting DVDs, but never quite got round to it. So this was my first viewing, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my thoughts on the film and the restoration first, and then we'll get into the unboxing and what's inside. So going into The Third Man, what did I know about this film? Well, only that Orson Welles was in it, and I know that might sound really bad, but again, I hadn't got round to it, so I was quite looking forward to it. I know it's often heralded as one of the great classics of British cinema, one of like the best films of the 1940s, or of just film in general, so you know, that's pretty high expectations to go in. And I'll just say this right off the bat, this film did not disappoint. This was a really fun, engaging story. There was suspense, there was drama, there was a lot of comedy, and I'm not talking about like, oh, it's an old film, so the comedy is not intentional. It's a genuinely very funny film, very well written, very well paced. There's lots of witty dialogue. The performances are great, particularly of the leading cast. So you've got Joseph Cotten playing Holly Martins, the main character. He's an author who's come to Vienna a few years after World War II to find his friend Harry Lyman. And can I just say, Joseph Cotten does a magnificent job here. I actually recently saw him in another classic film, Citizen Kane. Now, his role isn't as big in that as it is in The Third Man, but what a performance in The Third Man he gives. Absolutely stunning. You have Alida Valli as the leading lady, Miss Schmidt, and again, she does an incredible performance, and so much of that performance is said not through dialogue, but just, you know, through looks, through expression. And I know this sort of still happens in modern film, but it's a really lost art form. You watch some of the best classic films from the 30s, 40s, etc. So much emotion, so much intention is carried off without the need to say a single word, and she absolutely carries that off. Of course, you have Orson Welles, who is, you know, what can you say about Orson Welles? He's one of the, you could argue, the greatest actors to hit the screen. Again, mentioning Citizen Kane, that is highly lauded as one of the best films of all time. And he does a phenomenal job here. Can I just say, like, some of the favorite scenes? The Ferris wheel scene. I'm not going to get into major spoilers if you haven't seen it, but the Ferris wheel scene between Orson Welles and Joseph Cotten's characters is absolutely brilliant. I would recommend this film for that scene alone. The sewer scene at the end as well is really great. It's very suspenseful. The camera work's great, and the photography that's in there, because this film's in black and white. If you didn't know, The Third Man was released in black and white, and that kind of makes sense. You know, 1949, yes, color films are being made, but they're still very much in the minority compared to black and white. And this film is gorgeous in black and white. The shadow play that's in there in certain shots, just looking at the streets of Vienna in this black and white landscape, it doesn't feel dated, it doesn't feel old or boring to watch. There is so much character told within the buildings, the architecture, the scenes, the setups. It's brilliant. One of the best films in black and white I've ever seen. And just to get onto the restoration as well, from what I understand, this is a brand new 4K restoration in time for The Third Man's 75th anniversary. It got re-released into cinemas about a month ago with this new print, and it's this print that is making its way to the box set. Now, if you own The Third Man in your collection already, I think there was a release from StudioCanal back in 2015, so almost 10 years ago, on DVD and Blu-ray. There wasn't a release on 4K, but I believe that restoration from 2015 is a 4K restoration, or pretty damn close to it, so that might look pretty good. But I'm telling you, you watch this on 4K, on a modern 4K equipped TV, this looks stunning. And I know I've praised StudioCanal before for their restorations. I was very lucky to see their restorations of the 2 Doctor Who Dalek films from the 1960s. I got to see those in a cinema. They looked phenomenal, and indeed they look phenomenal on 4K. Same with The Wicker Man. Seeing that in 4K looked pretty phenomenal as well. So The Third Man absolutely lives up to that, and just really shows you with a strong restoration how powerful, how gorgeous black and white cinema can truly be, especially for you naysayers out there who dismiss black and white. So restoration-wise, for me, I personally have no problems. This film looks beautiful, it looks crisp, and again, if you've got the right hardware, it's going to look phenomenal on your TVs. The only thing better would have been if you had got to see it in the cinema. But on the whole, in terms of just general thoughts, I really enjoyed watching The Third Man. A really great example of classic film. You could say thriller, bits of noir, again, bits of drama, bits of comedy, and there's some really standout scenes. Like I said, the Ferris wheel scene, the sewer scene, the ending, the final shot of this film. I'm not going to truly give it away exactly how it ends or what happens, but stunningly beautiful. It's so simple, so simple, but again, so much is said without the use of dialogue, and I commend the filmmakers for it. This film was indeed directed by Carol Reed, who would go on to direct films like Oliver, as in the Oscar-winning Oliver. It was written by Graham Greene, who did another one of my classic British favourites, Brighton Rock, which for you Who fans starred younger William Hartnell. But those are my thoughts on the film itself, what I thought of it, and the restoration. So another thumbs up to StudioCanal. They've done a great job here. But I'm sure many of you are thinking, well, what is in this box set? So let's go over and see just what's inside. Righto then, here it is, the 4K box set of The Third Man, and just look at this artwork. How beautiful is that? Anyone who knows the film knows that the Ferris wheel is a very iconic location in the film. I've already mentioned about the Ferris wheel scene, but just seeing that newly commissioned artwork there just looks gorgeous, doesn't it? I love seeing the people down at the bottom there. I love the background. Like, you could easily hang this in a room if you were a big fan of this film, and hey, you may be able to, just saying. Now, with this being a box set, it, of course, comes in a big box. So here is a look at the spine, just as a reference for you. Now, these box sets, as gorgeous as they are, I would be remiss to say they do take up considerably more space on your shelf. Now, most people know that going in, but again, just look at that. That's the size of about, 3 or 4 individual 4Ks or Blu-rays right there, and it does look great. I love the font they've used here for The Third Man. It looks great. You can see the year at the top there, 1949, the person down there and the shadow that they cast. Really cool, but it is going to take up some space. Here's a comparison with The Wicker Man, the box set they released last year that I also did a review on. You can check out if you like. Now, you'll notice the Third Man one is ever so slightly taller, which I know for some of you who are quite focused on these things, that might be really frustrating, but when we open this up, I think it'll become clear why this one is a little bit taller. It's roughly about the same width, and I do love the consistency of the gold banners at the top that denote the year. I don't think I was that sure on the year at first, but having now seen 2 of them side by side, I can attune to it a lot more. Flicking it on over to the back, you can see we have the Ferris wheel yet again, and we also have a bit of a blurb of the film. So let's have a quick little read. Holly Martins, a native writer of pulp westerns, arrives in Vienna to meet his old friend Harry Lime, but finds that Lime has apparently been killed in a suspicious accident. Martins, too curious for his own good, hears contradictory stories about the circumstances of Lime's death, and as witnesses disappear, he finds himself chased by unknown assailants. Complicating matters are the sardonic Major Calloway, head of the British forces, and Lime's stage actress mistress, Anna Schmidt. Will Martin's curiosity lead him to discover things about his old friend that he'd rather not know? Very good blurb there. So that's just a little flavour. And again, in terms of just a film, I would recommend watching this film in any way that you can, because it is a brilliant film. I'm so glad to have seen it now. I feel like I'm so many years late to it. But again, I would recommend this is the way to watch it in 4K. Moving on to the special features then, another key part of it. So what do we have? We have Noreen Ackland on Saving the Third Man, which is an audio excerpt. The full excerpt is available on a website. It does detail it for you, but this one's about 5 minutes. That also says it's new for special features. Everything else on here, from what I can understand, I believe has been released on StudioCanal releases of The Third Man before. So if you own the 2015 DVD or Blu-ray, I think most of these will appear on it. From what I can gather, that's the case. But anyway, here's what's on it. You have The Third Man, a filmmaker's influence, a cool little mini documentary featuring other filmmakers like Martin Scorsese, for example, talking about how The Third Man influenced them. You have Restoring the Third Man, a great feature about the restoration process and how the restorers get these films looking this good. You've got various audio commentaries. You've got one with Guy Hamilton, Simon Callow, and Angela Allen. You've got Joseph Cotton's alternative opening voiceover narration, a different version of what you actually hear in the film. You've got the Third Man interactive Vienna tour, if should you want to do that. The Third Man on the Radio, which is a episodic series, but it's the first episode of a Third Man series, which is written and read by Orson Welles. He definitely had a good voice for the radio. You have an interview and zither performance by Cornelia Mayer. The zither is a stringed instrument that is heard constantly throughout the film. Its soundtrack, man, I haven't had a chance to talk about its soundtrack. It's immediately iconic. You know, you hear it and you're like, oh, this is going to be an earworm. And trust me, it's an earworm for me. You have Shadowing the Third Man, which is a documentary from back in 2004, I believe, celebrating the 55th anniversary, but chatting with people who were still around at the time or involved with the Third Man's creation. But it's a really cool, very extensive as well, a good hour-and-a-half documentary, so I highly recommend checking that out. You have interviews, archive interviews, audio only, but they're with Joseph Cotton, who of course plays Holly Martins, the lead, and an interview with Graham Greene, the writer. You've got a behind-the-scenes stills gallery, and you also have the trailer. Now, when it says trailer, that's the anniversary trailer. I don't believe it's the original trailer. It's the one specially made for the 75th anniversary. You can see that, as mentioned, this comes with a 4K and a standard Blu-ray. Both run at the same time. There's no director's cuts here. They both run to 104 minutes. So then the next thing I think we need to do is open this up. So when you open it up, like the Wicker Man, there's a pop-up. And would you listen to this? How cool is that when it's a music box playing the iconic zither theme that you hear constantly throughout the film? I won't lie to you, when I first opened this, I got such a shock because the label did mention music box packaging, but I thought they meant more the style. I didn't actually think when I opened this it was going to play music at me, but what a cool little feature this was to discover. Really appreciate this. That might also contribute to why maybe this is a bit taller. You know, you've got to cram the audio stuff in. Also, probably the pop-up Ferris wheel, that might increase the height somewhat as well. We have a quote here as well from Harry Lime, Orson Welles' character. He says, in Italy, for 30 years under the Borgias, they had warfare, terror, murder, and bloodshed. But they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love. They had 500 years of democracy and peace. And what did that produce?
The cuckoo clock.
So we've seen that, so now we have the actual movie, which is housed in this little digibook here. So 2 discs, you've got the 4K disc of The Third Man, and you also have a Blu-ray copy as well. Now, I'm all in favor of companies doing this. I know there are 4K exclusive limited edition sets or releases, but I think always including a Blu-ray is a good shout, because there's going to be some users out there who maybe are great fans of this film, want to pick it up, but for whatever reason, you know, maybe they haven't got a 4K player. But they want to own this set of The Third Man. So I think having a Blu-ray will still entice them to buy it, because then that way they've still got some means to access it. So the first little feature we'll look at, we have a collector's edition booklet, which is fairly chunky, 64 pages I think it is. You've got the cast and crew list. You get beautiful photos here from the actual film itself. Articles as well, talking about the film, the impact it's had, the legacy, the making of it, all that sort of stuff. I love all this like ephemera here from the time, like posters and all that sort of stuff. That's just really cool to see, like that old art of movie posters and stuff like that. I love reading through these as well. Some would say, oh, is this information available online? And I don't know if every single scrap of it is, but I love reading these because they're clearly written by people who care a lot about this film, who are very knowledgeable, and they just make for great reads. So I'd absolutely recommend having a flick through this if you get this box set. Love seeing those photos as well, all the stills. And you've got the little cat on the back, who plays quite an important part in a certain scene of this film, just saying. Next up, we have this, the fully annotated shooting script. This is a really cool feature, and it is exactly what it says. It's a copy of the shooting script, the script they used to film this movie, fully annotated. You've got all the notes on here. This is such a cool feature, and a rare one that you see this in print. I've seen tons of releases that will contain you know, scripts and stuff like that, but there'll be PDFs, one you have to just download and view on a computer. But for a set to actually give you a physical version of a shooting script with annotations, you know, you can read along to this, see which bits they cut, see which bits they edited, how they were tracking cameras, all that sort of stuff. Honestly, this got me so hyped because this is such a fascinating insight into the filmmaking process, especially when it comes to shooting. So I had a quick flick through before filming all this, but I'm going to have such fun going through this properly and just seeing the insight of how this film was made. Next up, we have a poster, which is of the new design, the 75th anniversary one. Here you go. Here is a look at the poster. Doesn't that look gorgeous? That Ferris wheel again. I would have liked a version maybe on the flip side as well without the text, or maybe just saying the third man. I just think that could have looked really cool as well to hang on the wall. But this is great. Massive props to the artist behind this piece of work, which is Nico Delort. I hope I'm saying that right. Apologies if I'm not, but they've done a phenomenal job in reimagining this artwork. It feels very modern, but also feels very classic and that late 1940s style as well. So Nico's absolutely smashed it here. Massive, massive props. And we also have these 4 postcards. Now, again, out of context, if you haven't seen this film before, you might look at these and think, have they included cards for the films? Well, no. As I mentioned, Holly Martins, the main character, is indeed a writer, particularly of westerns. So this one, Oklahoma Kid, that's one of his books that pops up in the film. You've got The Lone Rider of Santa Fe. That's constantly referred to. Really cool to see artwork for that. This is the Anna Schmidt's Passport. Again, I won't spoil it, but this plays a very important part in the film as well. And you actually have poster design. I'm taking it one of the original poster designs for the third man itself. So you've got the top billing of the stars there. Again, that just feels so 1940s. It really is a lost art form. Really is. So all in all, look, here is what you get within it. So obviously you've got the 4K disc, you've got the Blu-ray disc, you've got the collector's edition booklet with all the facts and stories and the pictures. You've got the shooting script, the annotated shooting script, which again, I can't get over how cool of a feature this actually is, especially if you're a big fan of this film. A lovely poster of the brand new artwork, which you can put up. And you've also got the 4 postcards, which again, 3 of them are great references to within the film itself. And one of them is the cool poster of the third man back in the day. Just a side note, you might remember from the Wicker Man review that there was also a steelbook that was released alongside. Now, as from what I can tell, there is no steelbook released this time for the third man, which is a shame because I know some people are really big into their steelbooks. But to be honest, for me, if I can have this film after now seeing it in 4K in one form or another, I'm not particularly bothered how that is. But just, I wanted to note that for any steelbook fans, from what I can see, there is no upcoming 4K steelbook release of the third man on the horizon. Maybe in the future there will be, but at the minute, it's not coming. There's a little shot of a sticker before I took the cellophane off, again, just explaining what you get within it. So, really love these extra features. Sometimes you get 4K box sets where you sort of look at the bonus features, if you like, and you sort of think, well, yeah, that's nice, that's cool, but what am I going to really do with that? Do you know what I mean? Whereas this is just really full of insightful, entertaining, informative pieces, particularly the booklet and then the shooting script as well. But after unboxing it, I mean, thoughts and impressions, again, like with The Wicker Man last year, I think StudioCanal have done it again. They've taken a classic film, presented it in this beautiful package with a stunning restoration to boot. So, well done, guys. Smashed it out the park once again. So there you have it. That is what's in this package of The Third Man. I hope you enjoyed seeing what's inside. Now, you might be thinking, okay, you know, I've seen what's inside. I like the look of the booklet, the poster, the art cards, even the music box feature, all that sort of stuff. But it always comes back to the question, doesn't it? How much is this going to cost? Well, from what I can see online, from places like HMV, which I recommend you buy from, or your independent movie retailer if you still have one, it's going to retail for about £45, roughly within that region. Some might have it a few pounds lower, a few pounds higher, but around £45 is what you can expect to pay for this release. Now, as limited edition 4K sets go, I would argue that's not too bad of a price at all. Considering what I see, I don't collect 4Ks massively. I'm still very much a Blu-ray kid, but the 4Ks I do have are what I see in shops like HMV. It seems brand new 4Ks, like standard releases, will go for, say, about £25. If it's a limited edition or it contains a Blu-ray, it might be £30, and then you're getting into box sets. So I think £45 for, A, the restoration itself, the boatload of special features that you get on this, all the fun little extras as well. I would personally argue it's worth the money. For those of you who might be asking, are they going to do a standard 4K release? I don't know as of yet. If you look on the HMV website, there's not a listing for one. There's only a listing for this box set and then the DVD and Blu-ray from back in 2015. So as to whether or not they'll release this in like a standard slipcase sort of thing, I would say they might do. Maybe not immediately, maybe not in tandem, but I'd say, I don't know, maybe 6 months or a year down the line. I can't see why they wouldn't do that. I think it would be in their fair interest to do that, and that'll probably retail for about, again, like £20-25 on its own. But for now, in terms of in the UK, if you want The Third Man on 4K, this is your one and only way in which to get it. But I hope you enjoyed that unboxing and review of The Third Man 4K. It was great fun to do. Once again, thank you so much to StudioCanal for sending me a copy. It's been great to finally experience this film, and thankfully in the highest quality possible on the home market at the minute. So big shout out to them. Go and check out their other titles as well, some of which, if you have ITVX Premium, you should be able to find under the StudioCanal Presents banner. But no, this was great fun to review. Another fun 4K box set on the shelf, which will go next to the Wicker Man, of course. I'm really curious to see what they come out with next in the Vintage Classics line. What classic property is going to get that same treatment? We'll have to wait and see. But if you enjoyed this unboxing and review, please leave a like on it. It really does help us out. And let me know your comments as well. What did you think of the unboxing and review? What do you think of The Third Man? Are you going to get this set? Do let me know in the comments, because if this gets a lot of comments, if a lot of you leave your engagement with it, who knows? I might be able to do more of these in the future to help you guys out to decide whether you want to grab this or not. Subscribe to the channel as well if you're brand new. We'd really love to have you aboard here with us. And in the meantime, I've been Adam Martyn from AMTV. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you next time. Thank you to our patrons for helping to support the show, and a special thank you to Macra, Bruce Danton, Derek Chambers, Sean Knock, Dord Khan, Liam Domain, AJ Mac 200017, Deck, Jen, Traffy, Tim Ripley, Mr. Eurovision 1986, Ted Elliott, Marnanel Thurman, John Wakefield, Kieran Bolton, 40-something Manchild, Jerry Ralph, John McLeod, Subs Khan, Saint Rocket 9, James Wallace, and Ben, are AMTV staff members.